This is a video of me practicing in my sketchbook. I've sped most of it up and I've also got a few things to say along the way. So what was I trying to do? This was actually from last month while I was still trying to bring something different into my sketches. It's a big project for me, even though I would still class this as a sketch. Using multiple references and putting the parts together gets me out of my comfort zone and maybe even drawing something new. It's a great way to start practicing combinations of different ideas without the pressure of coming up with something from thin air, which can be really hard and stressful sometimes. So how did I start the process? Well, I jump onto Pinterest with the mindset that I want to find between 2 and 3 references, and because I am looking at the images with an objective in mind, my brain will start to make connections, and as I'm scrolling, an idea or two will start to form. Then once the idea starts to take shape, I can look at the images with that idea in mind. For instance, with this sketch, the figure, the cat and the headpiece were all separate. I think even the coat might have been, but I'm not too sure. Then I do a small rough thumbnail to get an idea of how I could possibly make it work. And once I have all the pieces, then it's time to start sketching. I'm almost finished with the block-in stage where I basically just indicate where things are going to go, and I'm about to move on to the stage where I start to lay in the features a little bit better. The 2 dots are to indicate the inside corner of the eyes, and then I want to draw over my placeholder shapes and just see what I can do. I almost always draw them very, very badly the first time, and I try not to think about it too much. I mean, look at that, that is just, whew, that's pretty bad. Generally, I'll just erase it back, and funnily enough, it gives me a foundation to draw the eyes better on top, if that makes sense. But at least now I know what I don't want it to look like, and I can try again. I do wonder though if my drawings will ever have a time when they don't have that really ugly phase. Oh, there we go. I've erased it back and now I can try again. It almost always comes, I guess it's just natural that the second time around it comes out better because you know what you don't want. And it's like it comes out from a mist, from a fog, the traces of what was left behind. But the reason why the face is usually the first thing that I try to lay in is because it's one of the most important features. I mean, we all just gravitate towards looking to the face first, especially the eyes. So I try and treat the eyes and the nose and the mouth, that whole column, I don't know, that whole, well, not really column, it's like a triangle, including the chin area as one piece. And since I've been doing that, I think my drawings have been coming out a little bit better. So I guess a mini update. It's pretty obvious that I haven't been drawing as much as I would like to. I guess we might all go through times like that. I certainly haven't given up and I won't. I mean, I am still drawing, but most of it's just the personal warm-up sketches. Sometimes I might post them, but they're really just for me to draw crappy, make mistakes, and hopefully learn a thing or two about my problem areas. I highly recommend allowing yourself to draw bad sometimes. It is so freeing. I also find social media really hard to keep up with, especially when I just want to draw without thinking about drawing something to post online. It could also be that Instagram and YouTube aren't really growing at all, and that makes me less inclined to keep posting. It shouldn't be like that, and I do still jump. I do still like to jump onto Instagram and give as much encouragement as I can. So basically my schedule is all over the place. I won't promise regular uploads on YouTube. In fact, editing and posting this one after a hiatus has used up all my willpower today. But oh well, we do what we can, don't hold it against me. So back to the sketch, and I'm defining the hair a bit better, bringing it closer to what I want it to look like in the end. I've sped this up a little faster so we can get to the cat part, which is next. The thing is, I haven't drawn cats since the last time I drew Jonesy, and that was before he passed away on March 3rd last year. I just haven't been able to bring myself to draw them because I don't want to draw shitty cats and not live up to the memory I have of him. Maybe that's weird, but for some reason I paired my ability to draw cats with how much I love Jonesy, and I loved him a lot. I still think of him so often, and I also think I could never draw well enough to show that, to show how much love I have for him. I realise this is flawed logic, but I think that's why I haven't drawn cats for well over a year. I have recently decided that I do want to draw them again. I feel it's time, but I still can't draw Jonesy yet. I know that. So because of that, you get this weird looking cat that is definitely not Jonesy in any way. It was supposed to be more of a forest cat, one of those long haired type things, but I didn't like drawing this cat. I stopped drawing because I even stopped drawing them up until a couple of weeks ago. I added some pumas into my warm-up drawings, and that's as far away from a domestic cat as I can get while still practicing drawing cats. I want to get through this somehow without feeling like I'm desecrating his memory and cheapening how much he meant to me. It's tough, man. It's tough. I guess, spoiler alert though, the cat gets worse the more I work on it. On to laying in the clothing. While I did have a rough thumbnail for this, there was still a lot of working out of the smaller details around the bust line of the dress, and as far as how the neckline is going to sit and how the breasts are going to sit in there. And also was trying to decide how much I wanted to work on it, how detailed it was going to be, because I don't have much experience with clothing and cloth. I do tend to only rough them in. I think I need to work on anatomy and perspective a lot more to be more confident in working out those details. Until then, I think any clothing is always going to be quite rough. I guess it's like hiding the hands, but for clothes. It's definitely something I would like to work on, because as I continue to draw, I want my drawings to be more and more finished instead of roughed out. Also, I've cut out a lot of where I stop and assess what I've done, because sometimes I'll stop after just 1 or 2 marks, and it's like every 5 or 10 seconds, it's just makes my drawing process so drawn out and really, really annoying to rewatch, especially when editing. It's a confidence thing, but just to let you know, I have cut most of that out. So back to putting more details in the face, which is the most fun to work on for me. I switched to a darker pencil and have a go at the eyes again. I try to work on the eyes together, because if I finish one, I have more trouble getting the other one to look right. So I work on them together as best I can and try to remember all the bits and pieces that make up the eye socket, including the brow, and also leaving room for the side of the nose, which is easy to forget. I try and line up the insides of the corners of the eyes, which was the 2 dots that you saw earlier. And I think my current issue is getting the irises the same size, so I really have to work on that. All up, I think this sketch took me about an hour and a half, which is one of the longer sessions, and that's purely because this was more complex than what I usually do. I do think it's important to stretch out and do longer projects sometimes and create a good challenge that's not so far off what you can currently achieve, but also not so easy you basically check out while drawing. And that's why I love doing these reference combinations. I'm hoping that it will give me confidence to eventually make my own combinations. And I think the next step from this exercise is to work from a written prompt and draw whatever I can bring to mind from my own description. I guess kind of like the AI art generators do it. So, except I give myself a workout, not the computer. Anyway, I'm starting to run out of things to talk about, so I will speed this up until the next section. Oh, and a quick note on the shading. You can see now, I really want to work on pencil hatching. I struggle to keep my work neat, and I guess that's partly why I call these sketches and not drawings. But hatching takes up so much time and patience. But I really dislike how much of what I draw currently is just really scribble. It's just scribbled on. And I have been working on what I guess you would call draftsmanship. It's lacking, but it's also something I admire and definitely something I want to improve, especially around the face. I want to throw away my tissues. You'll understand what I mean in a minute. Okay, so this is where I'm getting sloppy, can you tell? It's the part that I find so annoying to do sometimes, and that's massing in the dark areas of the sketch. Covering up big sections with graphite. I get bored so easily doing this, and for some reason my graphite marks annoy me. So I usually break out the tissue and smudge the lot to cover up my impatience. And then once I've got the tissue out, I have to smooth other bits, which you can see, because now they look out of place and I can't not notice that. I don't know why I find patience so hard to do, but it is. I think to combat that a bit, I could find more interesting ways to mass in those large dark areas. Like I said, working on the hatching more, and then I won't have to smooth out rushed work. At least that's my theory. I have to find an exercise to put that into practice. But bear in mind that these sketches can take anywhere from 40 minutes to an hour and a half, like this one did. And after an hour and a half, I'm done. Whether the sketch looks good or not, I rarely go back to finish them. It's a problem. I would like to be able to sketch and draw in multiple sessions, but for some reason, that's just the hardest thing in the world for me, besides making regular upload videos. Oh gosh, but anyway, so then what I have to do is I get the kneaded eraser out, and I actually like this part, and I could do this if I had have hatched those tones instead of smudged the shit out of them. I could still lift out the light parts with the kneaded eraser, which I find quite fun. So because I did all that smudging and now all my edges look soft and crappy, I have to try and clean them up. I'm starting to hate my tissue so much, and I rely on it so much. It's a crutch. It's an issue. It's a tissue. I mean, it's got its place as a tool, but I'm overcompensating, and I'm using it to cover up my impatience and my messy pencil strokes, and that is the reality. I think an over-reliance on one tool can turn into a love-hate relationship, and that's what I have with tissues. So anyway, now I've got an even darker pencil, trying to make those edges a little bit sharper. Otherwise, it's just all smushed. So now back to the cat again, and the eyes on this cat are now nightmare fuel. I don't think I drew its face very well to start with, but I do think what I had before was better. Look at that. Like I said earlier, I did work on it, but it never got better. But I remember at the time I was really disappointed that I couldn't make it awesome, because, as a cat, I wanted to draw awesome. I want to be able to draw awesome cats like Jonesy was that awesome to me. I did have a reference, but I am just that rusty with drawing animals. Actually, most animals, really, because I've just been drawing portraits and figures for the past year, I think, mostly. Very rarely have I been drawing animals, and I'm really rusty. And that's why I've started including them in my warm-up sketch sessions again. So I might show you a couple that I've done on screen here, and you'll see that, yeah, they're pretty rough. But hopefully with time and more practice, I'll get there. So now I'm working on the hair again, just trying to define it again from the soft edges from where I smudged it with the tissue. And I don't know if the original reference had white hair or not. I don't believe it did, but it does now. And that's only because I'm lazy. I had a reference for this headpiece, and it looked a lot different from what I ended up drawing, because at this stage I'm pretty much done with how much time I can sit and draw. So I know I'm done with this. I knew I had to draw something, but I'm desperately looking for things that I can simplify and GTFO, and that was one of them. So instead of this intricate piece, you get that, which is okay, I guess. After that, all that's left is to clean up some areas, and that's it. That's all my patience, all done on one page in my sketchbook. Overall, the concept isn't too bad. It doesn't have a background, but that's another issue for another day and another sketchbook page. So that's it. Thanks for watching, if you're still here, and I will show you the end result of this in just a minute. There we go. I hope to see you next time. Keep drawing, everyone.